Fox News reports the White House Strategist, who is likewise the previous official seat of far-right U.S. news outlet Breitbart, called a journalist with left-inclining magazine The American Prospect. Ethno-patriotism, it's washouts. It's a periphery component, Bannon said. I think the media plays it up excessively, and we gotta help squash it, help smash it more. He included, these folks are an accumulation of comedians. In the far-reaching meeting, Bannon additionally said that his enemies inside the State, Defense and Treasury Departments are wetting themselves as he attempts to drive them out of the organization. Bannon said he called the author, Robert Kuttner, on the grounds that the strategist concurred with a current article clarifying how China would profit by the atomic dangers between the U.S. and North Korea. Bannon nitty-gritty his push to rebuff China with harder exchange endorses and discussed plans to expel rivals of the move. I'm changing out individuals at East Asian Defense, I'm getting birds of prey in. I'm getting Susan Thornton, acting head of East Asian and Pacific Affairs, out at State, the strategist said. Bannon's meeting additionally secured North Korea. Regardless of Trump's cases of flame and rage against the administration, Bannon said there's no military arrangement to North Korea's atomic threats, overlook it. Until the point that somebody settles the piece of the condition that demonstrates to me that 10 million individuals in Seoul don't kick the bucket in the initial 30 minutes from ordinary weapons, I don't hear what you're saying. There's no military arrangement here, they got us, Bannon said. Bannon has been the objective of Theory the Nation over about his future in the Trump Organization. The president declined to express trust in Bannon amid an improvised news meeting on Tuesday, saying, "We'll see what happens." Trump asked to delay rally. President Trump has been asked by Phoenix Mayor, Greg Stanton, to defer a rally booked for August 22 following the reaction over the Charlottesville revolts on the end of the week. In an announcement he discharged on Twitter, Mayor Stanton communicated his mistake in the president's choice to hold a battle rally as our country is as yet mending from the unfortunate occasions in Charlottesville. On the off chance that President Trump is coming to declare and absolve for previous Sheriff Joe Arpaio, at that point it will be certain that his actual plan is to kindle feelings and further gap our country, he composed. Arpaio, who named himself America's toughest sheriff and has been discovered liable of abusing a court arranged for racial profiling. Trump has said he is truly considering exonerating the previous sheriff. He has done a ton in the battle against unlawful movement. He's an awesome American nationalist and I prefer not to perceive what has transpired, Trump said. Leader Stanton said he trusts the president utilizes sound judgment and postpones his visit. Then, Trump has rejected 2 business chambers as more CEOs quit and previous presidents join Republicans in assaulting his remarks on Charlottesville. Mr. Trump pulled the stick on the assembling committee after 8 CEOs surrendered in the wake of his comments on the racial oppressor assault in Virginia. He likewise said he would disband the system and approach discussion, which incorporates business pioneers, for example, J.P. Morgan Chase's Jamie Dimon, PepsiCo's Indra Nooyi and Boeing's Jim McNerney. As opposed to putting weight on the specialists of the Manufacturing Council and Strategy and Policy Forum, I am finishing both. Much thanks to all of you. He tweeted. The system and arrangement discussion, which is separate to the assembling chamber, went about as a gathering and educated the White House the previous evening that it would be disbanded. The reasoning was it was imperative to do as a gathering, a part told CNBC. As a board, not as people since it would have more huge effect. It makes a main issue that it won't go ahead. It's finished. Mr. Trump's tweet came as 2 more CEOs quit his assembling board before he pulled the fitting on it. Inge Thulin, the CEO of 3M, and Campbell Soup CEO Denise Morrison, both said they would never again be a piece of the gathering. Following yesterday's comments from the president, I can't stay on the Manufacturing Jobs Initiative, Ms. Morrison said in an announcement. Prejudice and murder are unequivocally unpardonable and are not ethically equal to whatever else that occurred in Charlottesville. They joined Scott Paul from the Alliance for American Manufacturing, AFL-CIO President Richard Trumka and AFL-CIO's previous Vice President of Staff Thea Lee, Intel CEO Brian Krzanich, Under Armour CEO Kevin Plank and Merck CEO Kenneth Frazier, who had already stopped the gathering, had just observed Uber's Travis Kalanick leave over Mr. Trump's travel boycott, and Disney CEO Bob Iger and Tesla Elon Musk leave over the president's withdrawal from the Paris Climate Change Accord. President Bush lead Republican rebuke of Trump's comments. It came as previous U.S. Presidents George H.W. Shrubb and his child George W. Bramble issued an extreme joint explanation censuring racial dogmatism and hostile anti-Semitism, in a not-so-subtle reproach of Donald Trump. On Tuesday, Mr. Trump started a political firestorm when he said that counter-dissenters seemed, by all accounts, to be similarly to fault for savagery throughout the end of the week at a white patriot rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. America should dependably dismiss racial fanaticism, against Semitism, and contempt in all structures, the father-child previous president said in an announcement issued from Kennebunkport, Maine, where they have a family home. The announcement by the Bushes did not specify Mr. Trump by name. Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell additionally said something regarding the end of the week's viciousness in Charlottesville, rebuking Mr. Trump without naming him. "We can have no resistance for a belief system of racial scorn. There are no great neo-Nazis," Mr. McConnell said in an announcement. Mr. McConnell's significant other, Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao, remained alongside Mr. Trump on Tuesday as he demanded the two sides of the end of the week's conflict bore some obligation regarding the savagery that prompted one passing and almost 24 wounds. Senior White House authorities have been accounted for as saying Mr. Trump had gone off the rails at the question-and-answer session and that quite a bit of what he said was not concurred on. That could be obvious in the nonverbal communication of his new head of staff General John Kelly, who hung his head as the occasion slipped into bedlam. Republican Ohio Governor John Kasich was more straightforward in his assault on Mr. Trump's remarks overnight. "Despicable, isn't it quite recently terrible?" Mr. Kasich said in a TV meet. "The President of the United States needs to denounce these sorts of abhorrent gatherings." Mr. Trump demanded Tuesday that numerous on the political right who assembled in Charlottesville were tranquil nonconformists themselves who meant to spare a statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee from the peace stack. Previous Republican competitor Mitt Romney said the sides Mr. Trump was talking about were from ethically unique universes. Confederate monuments removed in Baltimore. Work groups in Baltimore brought down 4 landmarks to the experts' objection Civil War Confederacy on Wednesday before first light without drawing challenges of a sort that welcomed the arranged expulsion of a statue in the neighboring territory of Virginia. Landmarks, including one of Robert E. Lee, authority of the Confederate Armed Force and the American Civil War, and Thomas Stonewall Jackson, a Confederate general, were disassembled overnight and taken from the Maryland city's Wyman Parkdale after the city gathering on Monday endorsed the evacuation. Baltimore Mayor Catherine Pugh said she and the city board chose to complete the evacuations rapidly and unobtrusively.